All right, folks, I'm following a request on LinkedIn from my followership. This is going to be recorded, the recording of an internal presentation, an in-house presentation about strategic prioritization, so that you can also watch or listen to my thoughts about how to prioritize and how not to prioritize. Actually, second is not part of the presentation, and I show you how this happened. So I shared a screenshot of my slides and how they are ordered, and people were like, oh, this looks interesting, so where can we see the presentation? So where is it uploaded, and so on and so forth, right? Where can we watch it? And I had to say, like, this is an in-house presentation, so there's no recording, and then I promised to record it. So to show you what I mean with the slides, it's this. So this is how the presentation is formed as a cascade, because this is what strategic prioritization is about. It is about a cascade of decisions. So let me zoom in and let me start the presentation about strategic prioritization. And in this presentation, I will guide you through this cascade of decisions that start from product strategy and go down to backlog. It is an inspiration. It is an example, right? So it's not a straightforward process either. There's lots of back and forth, a lot of data and insights that we need to assess the one or the other point, right? But it is in the end a cascade of decisions, right? So on the backlog level, the decisions that we make on the backlog level are not isolated. They are the result of a lot of decisions that happened before we got to that level. Two things to mention about this presentation. The first thing is it's cut into two parts. The first part is more like an abstraction where we go into mental models and first principles of prioritization. And in the second part, we will take these mental models and apply them to this cascade that I mentioned. And we will go through the cascade as one example how you could do that. The second point to mention is there's, of course, a whole other point to do before that, right? So the coming from the vision and deriving the product strategy, that requires a whole lot of other prioritization decision-making activities. I'm not going to cover that in this presentation. This is like a whole topic in itself, but we will start there where we already have a product strategy, and then we take you down to the backlog level, how to get to the backlog level from product strategy. Great, so let's start. But first, for all those who don't know me, my name is Büşra Coşkuner. You can also call me BC. And I'm a product coach, trainer, and educator, one of the first ones in Switzerland, an independent one, for product leaders, product managers, and product teams. And I help product teams basically level up their product management game so that they make business with products that customers love. I offer trainings, workshops, coaching, upskilling, and keynotes in-house as well as open. So if you need my help in a way to build better products that really make business in a way that they also satisfy customers, reach out to me. Otherwise, I'm also known for my no bullshit attitude, no bullshit, all action. I share actionable and tangible advice on LinkedIn. So I'm breaking the abstraction. I make abstract product management theory more tangible and applicable to individual situations. You can follow me on social media, or also go on my blog and read more and subscribe to it. So this is all about the self-promotion. Now let's get into the topic. Let's start with the question, what prioritization actually is. So whenever I ask this question, I get some sort of an answer in the ways of, well, we do this first, then the other next, and the other one, and so on and so forth. So it's some sort of sorting, right? So they sort items that are to be prioritized in some way. They talk in this way, they talk about preferences, about X over Y decisions. And some of the people also mention trade-offs. If we do this first, then that next, it has a consequence, right? So these are trade-offs. More people need to think about trade-offs, but at least some people are already talking about trade-offs. But sorting is only one activity that is part of prioritization. There are actually three activities that we have to consider here. It's categorization, filtering, and sorting. So what it is about? Categorization basically means organizing items into buckets or clusters to answer a specific question and then label them. So what is this question? The question could be something like, what are all the ideas that you have that help us to create a bigger user base this year, right? So and then you come up with ideas, for example, it's just an example, and then you cluster them based on similarity. And then you find the similarity and use the similarity as the headline or the label of the cluster. Or you already have a category and you get items, right? People throw items at you and you have to assign those items into categories. For example, with the Kano model that already comes with the categories dissatisfier, satisfier, and delighter, and you categorize your findings in research into those three buckets, right? So what are where in which of these buckets fall these needs into that we find out in your research. Filtering means you set some criteria, some overall criteria, and then you reject all the items that don't meet these criteria. And filtering helps you basically to reduce the number of items that you have to deal with, and this way also reduce the complexity of decision making. And then we have sorting, and this is what I just talked about. It's putting items into an order, and the main goal of sorting is trying to make an assumption or even a claim about the return on investment, right? So which item do we expect to have the highest return on investment and down to the lowest one, right? Disclaimer, you have to define return and investment. And if you don't define it, then people understand it as in the business terms, like how much money do I get for the money that I put in? But for example, in the research phase, the return on investment might be learning. How much learning do I get for the effort that I put into this experimentation? And so this might also be return on investment. So what you do is you do a mix of these activities. You categorize, filter, sort, you do all of them or only two of them in whatever order and whenever you need it. And then you make a prioritization decision. And depending on what these items are about, your decision space is a different one. So for example, if you prioritize features, your decision could be a build versus experiment versus reject decisions. If you are prioritizing tasks, your decision might be a do now versus do later versus delegate versus don't do decision. So whatever you are prioritizing, the decision space will be a different one. And then the final point to mention, you apply these techniques on different levels and for different topics. You can really apply these activities wherever and whatever for. So it might be about finding the right strategic objectives to focus on. It might be about finding the right target customer segment. It might be really on the Jira level, let's say the epic stories, tasks, tech debt, design debt, right? Like anything that you're trying to prioritize against each other. It really doesn't matter. You can use these activities for any type of item and on any flight level. So this was the first abstraction layer. The second abstraction layer I want to talk about is the type of frameworks, prioritization frameworks that exist out there. And this is not about my opinion about what is good, what is bad. It's really about a neutral exploration of what exists out there. And here we see mainly 4 types. The first type is scoring. And what the scoring tries to address is it tries to find an easy way to answer the question, how much return do we get for the investment? I think I don't have to explain scoring too much. Everybody knows how this works, right? So you have your criteria. Somehow you might have an effort that you want to score against. You might have confidence that you want to score against. And then the items that you have, in this example, is features, but it could be really anything, right? Your themes, your initiatives, even your milestones. You could even score your milestones, like whatever you want to score. You score them, you give them a score, and then you have a total score in the end. Some famous prioritization techniques here are RICE, ICE, PI. Any kind of 2 times 2 matrix is also visual scoring, so anything, right? And a special form of scoring is weighted scoring. So maybe the criteria that you set are not all equally important. Then with a weight, you can express the importance of the criteria, which one is more important in your view than the other one. The second one I want to mention, the second type I want to mention is a 2x2 matrix. These help you with relative prioritization. So they help you to compare the items that you are trying to prioritize against each other and build a relationship between them. They might look like either on the left-hand side or on the right-hand side, but in the end, it doesn't matter. So why the ones use the ones and the others, I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's really not relevant. So basically, these work with criteria. So you use 2 criteria. You set those 2 criteria, and then you assess your items against those criteria and place them where you think they should be. Most famous ones are the impact effort matrix, the assumption map, the Eisenhower matrix, and some more. But really, you can use any criteria, any 2 criteria that makes sense to assess against. This also works with perceptual maps, right? So when you create a perceptual map, this is also a 2x2 matrix. Then another type is ruling out. So basically, you decide, is the item in or out, right? And this is kind of the same like filtering. So you set your overarching goal. So this is how it starts, how ruling out starts, because you need to rule out based on something, right? So this something is the overarching goal that you define. It might be the big fat business objective. It might be quarterly OKRs. It might be the North Star metric. It might be whatever, right? Whatever your overarching goal is. It might be even a target persona for the quarter, and everybody has to focus on this persona for the year or whatever time horizon, right? This is the focus. This is the focus that you're assessing all your items against. And that's the second step. Once you have this focus, then you assess which strategic or tactical opportunities or solutions pay into those overarching goals for the time horizon that you're looking at. So I shorten opportunities or solutions with O's, right, throughout the presentation, because it really doesn't matter if it's about opportunities or solutions. First principles apply to both of them. And then you dismiss all the opportunities or solutions that are not paying into those overarching focus points or those overarching goals. An alternative is that you can blend this with categorization. So you can combine it. So for example, you can use the Kano model as a research method that already comes with categories, right? And you might say, like, this quarter, we focused on finding only delighters, right? So we focus on delighters. In our discovery, we need to find something that could be a delighter for our product, right? Think of AI strategies. This might be your focus point. And then you assess all your opportunities or solutions against those delighters, right? Against this one main category, prioritized category, which is in this example, the delighter. Or you create an order of priorities of categories. For example, like Gibson-Biddle always gives the example of growth versus engagement versus monetization. You might say, this year we mainly want to focus on engagement. Our second priority is growth, and third is monetization. Nothing is ruled out, everything is in, but in this order of preference. So if you have to make a trade-off, then this is the priority that you have to think about, right? Then you assess your opportunities or solution against the order of this priority, and then you dismiss all of the O's that don't pay into the one focus category or any of these focus categories in this order of priority. Now, having said that, I will not explain any prioritization method in this presentation except of one, and this is what I'm going to do now in order to make this abstraction a bit more tangible, right? I will give you an example of how this could look like. There is a method called bin stack, and I'm pretty sure that most of you haven't heard of this because I have learned this name, bin stack, just a couple of months ago myself. This is one of those things that you do, but you don't know that this has a name. So turns out this has a name. It's called bin stack. So what you basically do is what I just described, right? So you have your attributes on the left-hand side, ordered by importance, right? It might be your business goals. Let's say you have your business goals, 1 business goal, 2 business goal, 3 business goal, 4 for the year. Or again, engagement, growth, monetization. This is the order of importance of the overarching categories to focus on, right? Then you take your items that you want to prioritize. In this example, it's features, it might be anything, right? It might be themes, experiments, whatever, your hypotheses, your opportunities. And then you check the significant impact of these items on the attribute. So you ask the question, in this example, does feature A have a significant impact on the attribute 1 that we are able to measure, right? And if your answer is yes, then you continue checking the next attributes. So let's go through an example. So this could look like this. You check the attribute 1, okay? And you check all the features against this attribute 1, and you find out that feature B does not have a significant impact on attribute 1. This way, you know feature B is ruled out immediately, even though it has some significant impact on the other 3 attributes, because it does not support the very, very first, the most important attribute, you rule it out. In the second round, you check, okay, attribute 2, feature A and C both have a significant impact on attribute 2. Next round, attribute 3. Oh, feature A does not have a significant impact on attribute 3. Therefore, we rule out feature A. And now we can decide, either we say, okay, feature C is the winner because it addresses the first 3 out of 4 attributes, or we are more strict and say, no, even feature C is not a winner. We go back to the drawing board and ideate and or find another feature that is really going to pay into all of those 4 attributes. It's somehow up to you how pragmatic versus dogmatic you want to be. Well, if you end up with features that only pay into the first 2, I would really think about if I want to go with any of those, right? So it's a bit up to you. And then the final type of prioritization technique that I want to mention here is calculation. So basically, you try to calculate some sort of potential business results. And here I want to mention business cases as a typical case, or forecasts, some sort of back of the envelope calculations like using the Fermi estimate, the traction model by Ashmurray, anything that helps you to get a sense of the potential business results that the item is going to generate for you. And this is it for the abstraction layer, right? So we have gone through 2 abstraction layers. The first one were the 3 activities, and the second one were the 4 types of prioritization techniques. And now let's take these and apply them to the cascade that we are going through as an example cascade. And of course, a product management presentation would not be good if we did not quote a guru, right? And I have chosen this guru or this quote because in this quote, I have 2 quotes in one quote and quote 2 gurus within one quote. So this is a quote unquote, quoting 2 gurus at the same time. This is from Marty Kagan's newsletter, and in one issue, he's elaborating on how important it is to have focus, to have a good product strategy, right? So a good product strategy or product strategy can only be good if there is a defined focus in there. And then he concludes with these words: every good product strategy begins with this focus. Quoting Richard Rummelt, good strategy works by focusing energy and resources on one or a very few pivotal objectives whose accomplishment will lead to a cascade of favorable outcomes. If the leaders are not willing or able to make these choices, then the product strategy is doomed from the start. So by now we know that a successful product strategy or product strategy can only be successful if it creates focus. But that is only one part of the game. If you have a good product strategy, but in the execution of the strategy, you lose this focus, then you can still not build a successful product. So that means also in the execution level, on the execution level, we need to keep focus. And that's why we start prioritization with strategy. So again, this is an example, an inspiration. So see how it works for your context, for your company, right? But let's start with the assumption that your company works with a strategic focus of yearly planning. Yeah, so the planning goes on a business year, or is based on business years. Now we would ask ourselves the question, what is our focus this year? Let's say your leadership has come up with these 3 business objectives: grow market share, fulfill more demand, grow revenue per customer. And let's say this is the order of priority. Yeah. So what you could do is you could take your themes or outcomes or whatever you use for creating a roadmap, right? It depends on the company. And this is not a discussion about what is good or what is bad. It's really about what you use. So whatever you use, you score it against the business objectives. Scoring is one way. I'm not saying that this is the best way. I use the scoring example throughout the presentation because it's the easiest one that everybody knows how it works. And I don't have to explain how that works, right? So therefore, let's say you score for whatever reason, then you score it against business objectives and you try to find the ones that have the highest score, where you believe these are going to pay highly into all of the 3 business objectives. Instead, you could also run a Fermi estimate or a business case if that's the way how you prioritize on the very strategic level, right? Or you could also bin stack, right? That's also an option. And if we say this is the priority of importance anyways, then you can take all of the outcomes that you're looking at, or themes, milestones, initiatives, whatever you work with, and assess their significant impact against all of these 3 objectives. And you pick only those 3 to maximum 4 per year that you believe will pay into all of the 3 business objectives. Now we have some sort of clarity. We've already filtered out. And if you have more than 3 or 4, then you have to have good conversations. And yeah, by the way, for all of this, you also need data, right? So data, evidence, insights. This is not based on, or this should not be based on pure opinions, because, you know, if it's only opinions that we make decisions with, and let's take mine kind of, right? This should be backed up. This decision should be backed up. Can't say it often enough. But let's say we have this decision, then we go in the cascade, we go one level deeper. Let's say we go into the tactical planning. And let's say your organization uses quarterly OKRs. It might use it, might not use it, but let's say it uses quarterly OKRs. You might end up having these 3 objectives for the next quarter. Create a happy customer base, grow mobile advertising, reduce time to experience the core value for new users. Okay, what do you do now? You do exactly the same. You take the themes that you're looking at, for example, if it's themes that you work with, and you score them against the impact on these objectives. Right? Again, it might be objectives, it might be outcomes on your roadmap, it might be strategic milestones. So whatever you work with on a roadmap level, right? So however you organize your roadmap, you assess those items against these roadmap focus points. And again, you could run a Fermi estimate instead. You could have business cases instead. Whatever it is that you do on this level, you apply it here. Or again, you could use bin stacking, right? And really assess the features or themes, categories, whatever, against those objectives. Now, after having done these 2 strategic breakdowns, you're going to have a filtered list or collection, or however you want to call it, of opportunities or solutions that pay into your strategy. And now you will ask me, well, what about all the opportunities and solutions that come from discovery and research? And you're right? So this was planning level. Now we go into execution and daily work. And while we're doing this daily work, of course, you've got a continuous discovery set up, right? And even if it's not continuous, like some sort of discovery is always there, right? We keep learning, and we need to take this learning and bake it into our plan and change our plan accordingly, right? Otherwise, we will not be agile. We have to react to those learnings. But how do we do that? My answer is you follow the same logic. You filter against strategic impact. As an example, the opportunity solution tree, if you're using an opportunity solution tree, the product outcome on the top is anyways, hopefully, the outcome that is on the roadmap level, right? So you decided for some outcomes, for some objectives. So there is something that you have broken down the outcome from that is connected to the strategy. So that means any opportunity that you're going to find or solution that you're going to find is going to pay into a strategic overarching goal anyways. And your task is to find the ones that have the highest impact on the strategic outcome. Or if you want to take it to the higher level, you can use an impact map to actually assess outcomes, right? So the outcomes that you find during your discovery and research, you might find out that there's another outcome that actually has a higher chance to pay into our overarching business goal for the target persona that we're looking at, and might want to suggest it to your leadership to actually replace an outcome on the roadmap with the outcome that we've just found now, right? Whatever that might be. Or another way of looking at it is you use categorization to actually move learnings from discovery to this collection of opportunities and solutions. As an example, let's take the Kano model again. Let's say you're a calendar product, and your business goal for the year or for the quarter, let's say, is create an AI strategy for our company, and your focus persona is the busy product manager. Well, in your research, you might find some delighters. So yeah, we could also say like, hey, the overarching goal is to focus on the group of the category of delighters, right? So now we have two things that we can work on. We should find a delighter, and we need to focus on busy product managers. You might find two possible ideas. The first one might be AI detects the other person's free times that match with yours and suggests best times to meet. And the other one might be AI optimizes your calendar based on your goal, e.g. maximize time for deep work, right? And then as our main target group is busy product managers, we might want to go with the second one, right? So we have two things. We only focus on the delighters. We might have found another one that is rather a satisfier. AI suggests who you should invite to the meeting, right? But we want to focus on delighters. That's the first thing. Therefore, this is the bucket that we are looking for a solution. And the second overarching focus point is the busy product manager. And in our research, we might find out that the second item addresses their needs better than the first item. And this way, this idea moves into our list of opportunities and solutions that come from internal and external channels that pay into our strategy. Right? This is how you do it. And why do I say internal and external channels? Well, for me, external is anything that we find out there, out of the building. So this is not our opinion, not internal stuff, but this really comes from market feedback, right? This is external learning. And internal is, well, in the end, product reality. Everybody has an idea. Everybody thinks that's the next best thing, right? And we still have to assess all those next best things to work on. And therefore, it's always, in the end, a mix of internal and external channels. Now, in the next step, you can apply any prioritization method of your choice, whatever you prefer, and whatever meets your situation, right? So not all prioritization techniques are suitable for all situations. So whatever meets your needs in that situation, you apply it. And here is an overview that shows you some of the most important or most well-known prioritization techniques and which activity they help you with. Right? So most of them help you with multiple activities, not only one. So here's an overview for you. You can take a screenshot. But that's it. What I'm going to say about prioritization techniques themselves, because it really doesn't matter. So you apply the one that fits your situation and your needs, and then you ask the confidence question. Okay, so you check the confidence, because prioritization is more about confidence than about any score. But I will give you an example with a score. So everybody knows the ICE frameworks, and therefore I'm not going to explain it too much, but this is what I mean with confidence, right? So you assess your criteria against the ideas, in this case it's impact, then you apply your confidence level, you make an assessment, a guesstimation of how big it is going to be. And when I say you, I don't mean you as a person, but you as a team, right? So you have to have your good, reliable sources for that. And of course, a lot of data, evidence, again, right? So this is not guessing. So this should not be guessing, because otherwise it's going to end up with a very low confidence level. And then you make the decision to either experiment, reject, build, or find a smaller solution to the same problem. And this looks, and you can apply the confidence question really to any prioritization technique. Here's an abstraction of scoring again, right? So you can have any criteria, and then you create your subtotal. You apply your confidence level to it, and then you have a confidence weighted score of your criteria. But really, it doesn't all, like, we know it from scoring, but really this confidence question works with any method, any other method. So don't just stick to scoring. It works with ruling out as well. Does this feature really not have a significant impact on attribute 1? Are we really sure about it? Well, actually, we don't have enough data that backs this up. So no, we're like, our confidence level on this is very low. So maybe we should check it again, because it would be important, right? Remember feature B, it was meeting all of the other 3 attributes. Maybe it's worth to look into attribute number 1 again to be very sure that it's really not, that it really does not have a significant impact on attribute A, right? Because this would be actually the winner. Or also with calculations, business cases. Well, business cases are full with assumptions, but maybe they are not, right? So are we sure that this business case is going to turn out the way that we think? No, it's actually full of assumptions. Nothing is backed up with data. My confidence level is pretty low. Or yes, actually all the assumptions were well-educated assumptions, because we run a lot of experiments and we'll have a lot of insights, and this is how they flew into the business case. So yes, my confidence level is pretty high that this is going to turn out the way you think, right? So you can really apply it to any prioritization technique. How do you set your confidence? Well, either you start with frameworks, with existing frameworks, like the confidence meter by Itamar Gilad, so you can download this one on this page. Or you can create your own assessment, right? I've done both in 2 different companies, and both work. The very important piece is to be aligned with your stakeholders and your team, et cetera, on the reasoning when you apply which confidence level to what idea, right? So it's important that you have some sort of an alignment. The result of applying your confidence level is categories. Now we have categories of ideas and opportunities. Now you have bulks that say, okay, these are actually well informed, we can plan to build them. Here we actually need some more experiments to see if it's really worth building or not. These ones we know we're going to reject. Or for the opportunities here, for these ones we need more data to understand if we really want to explore this. These ones we're pretty sure that we want to explore this, et cetera, right? So you have now categories, and you can make decisions based on category criteria, and not just very on the individual item level. And now with this, you have a list of categorized backlog items. categorize opportunities or solutions. So all these items that you have here, these are your backlog items now, right? And these are categorized. And what you can do now is, now you can sort them. What goes into execution, what doesn't, right? So what goes into delivery, what doesn't. Execution is everything. So like everything that we've done so far is already execution. But the question is, which of these are going to go now to delivery? Which of these are going to go now to discovery? Which of these are going to go now to experimentation, and so on and so forth, right? So now it's time for sorting. And for those who expect me to show them a golden rule of sorting, I will disappoint you, because for me, this is where product management is a bit of an art, right? So product management has always some pieces of art in there, and here it's more art than really science. There are some techniques, qualitative techniques like rocks, pebbles, sand, for example, that help you with capacity queuing and so on and so forth. But to decide which items are going to go to delivery or discovery, you have to really go through a lot of input, and you have to make a decision based on the input that you get. It's different inputs that you have to consider, right? It might be things like, it might be considerations like, is there anything to de-risk? So these items might have to go first rather than later, right? Are there politics that we have to navigate through? Is there a specific stakeholder that we need to make sure that they are satisfied this quarter so that they leave us alone on the other topics? Is there a good balance here between delivery and discovery, between tech debt and new features, and so on and so forth, right? Like seeking balance in your decision of what to work on next, right? So you have to take all this input, and then you have to listen a bit to your intuition, to your experience, to the situation, to the conversation. So you have to have those conversations, to the collaboration. So whatever happens, you have to put it together, and then you blend it, right? You have to blend it. You blend everything, like from every item, you get some pieces based on the inside, and you blend it. And by then, it should be fine. It's gonna be fine. And that was it. Yeah, happy blending. I hope you enjoyed it. And now you see how we went through this cascade from the top, starting with the abstraction and the thoughts that we have to have first, and then starting with strategy, with tactical planning, going down, taking discovery into assumption, discovery into the whole potpourri, and only then look into those backlog items and categorize them to then finally sort them and make a decision what goes into the actual daily work and whatnot. So let me know what you think. If you like this, if you did not like it, there's lots of abstraction. I try to stay away from my opinions, with my opinions, because I believe this is a whole different topic. What is good, what is bad? It's more about what is out there and what are the things that you should consider before going into action. Let me know what you think. Thank you.